Well, Reza Marashi is Director of Research at the National Iranian-American Council, I should say. He joins us now live from Washington, D.C. Good to have you with us. Iran, of course, has been under various sanctions for a while, hasn't it? Have any of them had any impact on the actual goal of this, which is the uranium enrichment program?
Well, I think you have to break it up into two parts. To say that the sanctions have brought the Iranians back to the negotiating table, I think is a bit disingenuous, and it glazes over some important facts. I think what's really brought the Iranians back to the negotiating table is that key economic stakeholders inside of Iran are starting to see that not only are their livelihoods being affected, but also the livelihoods of their people are being affected, and they think that now's the time where it might be a better idea to de-escalate some of the tensions that they have with the international community. So sanctions certainly play a part in that, but decades of mismanagement, corruption, and nepotism, I think, are the bigger factor at hand here. So, you know, it's a sum of all parts.
All right, well, now the latest sanctions go for Iran's lifeblood, don't they? And that's the oil exports. To what extent can Iran get around the sanctions by bartering and flagging its tankers and ships elsewhere and so on?
It's a great question, and I think you named some of the key measures that they'll take, at least in the short to medium term. I think it's important to realize that, you know, the United States doesn't import any oil from Iran. Europe made up about approximately 25% of Iran's oil exports. So you have a massive amount of Iranian oil that's been headed towards Asia primarily, and will still continue to head to Asia. So that's why the toughest sanctions are the financial sanctions, the banking sanctions that are unilateral American sanctions that make it tougher for Iran's energy customers to process payments. We've seen a lot of these countries get waivers in recent weeks. We've seen the Chinese.
But even with those restrictions, if I could jump in, the figures which I saw from May show that China's importing more despite all of that stuff.
That's right, and I think there's a natural ebb and flow when it relates to the Chinese-Iranian economic and energy relationship broadly conceived. They had a payment dispute that had lasted for a few months where they saw imports lower. The payment dispute was resolved. Imports went back to some more normal levels, if you will. So this is a natural ebb and flow. But we are in uncharted waters when it comes to sanctions on Iran's oil and gas exports, sanctions on the Iranian energy industry broadly conceived, embargoes, things of that nature. And with unprecedented, uncharted waters comes unanticipated consequences, if you will. And the law of unintended consequences really is the modus vivendi, if you will, of sanctions broadly conceived. They have a propensity to not achieve their intended objective. So that's why they need to be used as a tool to facilitate leverage rather than an end game in and of itself.
All right, Reza Marashi, it's good listening to you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.